All right, this is the video that you've been waiting for. It's a little bit late. It's about a day late. I wanted to do this yesterday. But anyways, Crypt of Perpetual Darkness is up for pre-order. It's out. It's available right now. Go ahead, pause the video, leave, go to Amazon.com, go to Hasbro Pulse. It's probably going to be sold out on Hasbro Pulse, but go to Amazon. You should be able to see this on Big Bad Toy Store as well. Go to the place that has been faithful to you thus far and pre-order it, because it's available for pre-order right now. Joe Manganiello's. Manginaya. Is the joke old yet? The joke is never going to get old. Joe Manganiello's The Crypt of Perpetual Darkness quest pack will expand your HeroQuest game system, and it really wants you to know that it is indeed Joe's quest pack because of the stylized font on the front. I laughed a little bit about this. Then I laughed a lot about what was inside the box, and I can't help myself. So this is a little peek, a little look-see at what is inside this thing, as presented on Avalon Hill's official Instagram, Amazon, and on Hasbro Pulse's website. I'm Ash. This is HeroQuest. Welcome home, brave heroes. This is the most stylized and most designer celebrating of all of the HeroQuest products. All of the HeroQuest stuff up to this point has been part of something bigger. It's been more design congruent. It's been more compatible visually. This is absolutely nuts. But before we really look at in detail what we can see anyway of this stuff, before we get into the unboxing, which will come, later when I actually have the box in hand, this quest features a quest book with 10 quests, 1 metallic black dragon miniature, 8 black dice, that's 2 movement dice and 6 combat dice, 1 pad of character sheets, 20 foil embellished cards, and 2 cardboard tile sheets. So it advertises itself as previously only available to crowdfunders who supported HeroQuest's relaunch. We'll see you and your companions venturing into darkness, vanquishing terrible foes, and encountering unlikely allies. Rely on your wits and fortitude to discover the true power that lies beneath the realm. For those of you who were wanting this to be a pack of miniatures, perhaps come with a custom hero, a new hero, or maybe even a different dragon sculpt, those are not happening. Those hopes are dashed. We've got different things going on with this pack. We do have the same dragon sculpt as was in the Mythic tier, and you know what? I actually think this one is objectively better because of the material in which it's cast. I think that we are seeing a superior version of it. I don't think that there's anything different about the sculpt, but we have advantages to this sculpt. We have 2 major advantages. One, it's now available in retail, right? That's the main focus, and that's really the main advantage over all of this. No matter how you feel at the end of the day or at the end of this video about this particular expansion, the one thing that it has going for it that is just overwhelmingly positive is that it's finally available retail. This was on my wish list for 2025, and for 2024, not that I expected to get it in 2024, but it was on my wish list last year as an expansion that would be available for retail. And it's also on many, many other people's wish lists. This is going to now be checked off because it's going to be in existence. It exists. You can now get it. It's going to be obtainable. Hackers, scalpers. There we go. That's the word, Ash. Scalpers be damned. We've got a price of $34.99 USD on Hasbro Pulse and $34.99 USD on Amazon. So, try not to pay double or triple that on eBay. So for anybody who received a damaged dragon figure or a subpar version of the dragon because of manufacturing blips, you can now just acquire the dragon new. You can return this box or exchange it for a new one, or you can just buy a second box and have a second dragon. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. And the dragon that you're going to have is the same as the dragon from the Mythic tier in every respect, except for the cool metallic finish on the plastic. Or it's not really a finish. It's probably the material itself. So we have this awesome metallic-y material, black metallic dragon. I think that's really, really cool. And if you don't think that's really, really cool, you can paint it. I still think it's kind of weird that we had like a sparkly, glittery warlock, a sparkly, glittery orc bard. I'm not saying that 3 times fast, but the sparkly, glittery black dragon makes sense to me for some reason. Is it just me? This is going to be the divisive part. This is going to be, oh man. Okay, so we have here some alchemy cards. No, this expansion is not going to reintroduce the alchemy system. It just comes with cards that will be compatible with your alchemy deck. And it's going to be kind of weird because I don't think that this expansion is in any way, shape, or form going to explain why it has a different set of cards, like why that there's alchemy cards at all. Those of you who have Rise of the Dread Moon will know what these are, what they're for. It's going to be very strange to have them foiled like this. I mean, as you can see, the fronts of the cards are being shown off here as having this foil attribute. You're not going to be able to shuffle these into your existing decks. These are going to have to be things that are acquired during the quest, which means that the cards weren't necessary for them to begin with. But if they were going to be part of draw decks, then the backs of the cards should have been visually the exact same. Then the backs of the cards should have been visually the exact same as what we have now and not foiled, not embossed with this foil effect. That's a very strange choice because it kind of dooms these cards to be used only as reference cards. You could still put them, of course, shuffle them into your existing decks and use them as draw cards, but now when a person comes across this card at the top of the draw deck, they're going to know that it's going to be one of these things. Granted, this is not really going to matter, like 99%. This is not mechanically going to matter in any way, shape, or form because all of these things are potions that exist within the existing alchemy deck. I mean, it's not as if it's really going to change your chances all that much of getting a particular item. It's just adding more of all of the items into the deck. And for a lot of folks, you can get around this by drawing from the bottom of the deck or taking the top card off and drawing the one after that. You can do whatever you want. This is really a moot point. It's just an observation from me, and I think it's bizarre. It's more, I think, celebratory of just this thing coming out. It's saying, hey, this is a collector's item. I've been talking about the foil, and I've been talking about the backs of the cards, and I've been talking about the alchemy. I have not talked about the art yet. The art on this stuff is very stylized. It's not really the art, I don't think, so much. If this was all black and white, I don't think anybody would even notice. It's the fact that it's all full colored, full bleed, and that the text is this wildly stylized font. It borders on difficult to read. It's not consistent in any way with what we have. It is in your face, and it's all cool for no reason whatsoever. This, too, is not so much a complaint as it is well, why did they do this? What was the mindset behind this? Why did they think people would like this? I don't see a lot of people who are particularly complimenting the card style. There is one here. And to be honest, it's cool to see the people who are in support of the art and the foil. There are people who are genuinely going to love these cards, and that's fine. Power to those people. That's cool. But, I mean, predictably, you're going to have folks that are like, this is garbage, I'm going to pass on this. We get some character sheets, which, honestly, I don't really have a problem with the character sheets at all. I think the character sheets are cool. The cards are not my cup of tea. I would not be shuffling those cards into my decks. I would not use them in my games. And, I mean, you're Zargon, you choose what to do. The stylization doesn't match, and I'm just a bit too OCD probably about things all lining up and matching and being consistent. I think inconsistency can confuse players, particularly new players, because of psychological factors, and this is why design convention exists. But the character sheets don't have to match the existing character sheets. The character sheets can be whatever, because you can just hand this out in place of your existing block of character sheets. And the stylization on here doesn't bother me. I think it looks really fitting and it looks pretty cool. That's my opinion. I like the character sheets. Are they necessary? I don't know. I think it's fine to have character sheets in place of another asset like tiles or cards or minis or whatever for some of these expansions, because at some point you're going to run out of character sheets with your base game. Or you're going to get down to just only so many, and you're not going to want to use those because you're going to get that mindset where it's like, I don't want to use these, or then I won't have any more. I won't have any more character sheets with my original game that I got. So it helps to have these official offerings, although you can just print more off. There's a variety of resources out there. You can just make more on your own. But if you're one of those people who doesn't like to do that, you'd rather have a pad like this, then I think it's fine. I think the character sheets are cool. The combat dice do not really wow me, but we have an official set of black combat dice now, which is kind of cool. I always wish for dice to have the alternate faces, the different face configurations. And, there's a set of homebrew dice out there that are black, the power dice or the German dice. Black dice that have an extra skull and I believe one less white shield. that the skull replaces. The black movement dice, I don't like movement dice being different colors because there are things in the text of game elements everywhere that call out red movement dice. A lot of things, most things say movement dice, but there are some things that specify red, which is bizarre to have in your text. But for those things that are like roll 2 red movement dice, it makes things inconsistent. It messes with my brain. I don't like that. Besides that, they're just plain. They're just plain dice. Are they necessary? Not at all. I'm actually surprised Joe didn't kind of push for cooler dice. We do get the tavern tile and the actual crypt tile. Remember that this is one tile that is double-sided, so our tavern's on the other side. We do get all of the smaller 1x tiles that come with the original Mythic Tier version of this expansion. But this is the long and short of everything we get. There are no heroes here, no new sculpts of anything that exists other than the dragon. I, in my heart of hearts, was hoping for and really predicting, like I thought it was very, very likely that this third expansion in the Mythic series was going to have a variety of miniatures, the undead, the dread warriors, the green skins that we know and love from the original box that were in different poses, the Mythic Tier poses, and they were going to have a different material in which they were injected. So we don't have that, though. We just have the dragon. And we kind of have a different sort of view angle on the Hasbro Pulse website. We really don't see any different information, anything new. Importantly, they did keep Max Dunbar as the artist, so we are seeing art that is consistent. It's just that it's colored and it's really in your face and it's on full bleed cards, so it's all over the card instead of contained in a little box that only takes up half of a card at most with a border, black and white. But just imagine that this art was black and white and that it was in little boxes, followed by text that explains the mechanic of the card, and you would probably agree it would be very consistent with the existing cards. I also do see here on the Pulse website we have a glimpse of inside the Perpetual Darkness quest book. And comparing with the existing Mythic Tier quest book, we see no changes to map, layout, quest notes, wandering monster, flavor text, anything whatsoever, except for this margin art over here. For Quest 1, in particular, the Rat and Candle Tavern, we have the Rat and Candle, this artwork in the lower right-hand corner. I think the idea of art down with the quest notes is fine, as long as the quest is effectively presented enough not to need a plethora of quest notes. And believe me, I'm one who thinks too many quest notes is bad game design. But if you don't need the room and you can put some art down there, power to you. That's awesome. I'm also, as somebody who is really, really picky against AI art, the lines and sporadicness of the art style kind of make me want to peg it as AI, but I'm looking real closely at this and like, it's pretty symmetrical. And I don't know if this is Max's art, but for now I'm going to say I'm just not sure, and it's okay, and I'm just going to move on. And we get another look at our metallic black dragon. There are no different shots on the Amazon page. Everything is pretty consistent. Information presented is the same. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what this expansion means for future expansions, future of Avalon Hill, future of HeroQuest. Things we have to take into consideration. This is not the same as, say, a re-release of a classic quest pack. This is not something that a ton of fans were waiting with bated breath to see. Sure, there is an audience, and I will accept that it's going to be the general populace of HeroQuest fans that would have been awaiting a release, or a retail release of the Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. And they wanted to see it successful, and they wanted to see it well done, well executed, and they just, above all, want it to be accessible. And here it is. It's going to be accessible and available. It's out. Those wishes are granted. That's the most important part, and that's done. Do we want more because we're greedy? Do we want more because, maybe we already have this and we were looking for a reason to buy it again? Absolutely. Sure. Did we want lots of new miniatures, a new hero cards? Again, yes, all of that stuff. Did some of us want these cards, but just not for them to be foil and to follow the same aesthetic as the classic game? Again, yes, absolutely. And some of these artifact cards are presented as they were in the Mythic Tier and not overly stylized. I think that's an important point to talk about, but it's equally important to note that they too are foiled. So They've got this sheen, this gloss that's unmistakable when you reach them in your artifact deck. Not that you're using your artifact deck as a draw deck, right? It's just a reference deck. Know the difference, but it still creates a style inconsistency that might bug some people to a minor degree. I don't think anybody's going to get on a soapbox and really complain that hard about those few artifact cards in particular just because they're foiled. Would we have preferred normal, whoever we are? Yes. Mostly that's not going to matter, and that's fine. We can move on from that. But it's not like this expansion is Keller's Keep or the Mage of the Mirror or Wizards of Morkar / Zargon. This was one of those mythic releases that could have really had a number of different presentations, a number of different versions, and all of them would have been okay because there was no established precedent. There was just, here's a quest book, the end. So whenever this gets made into retail, it's like, well, we know that there's going to be a quest book, and we know that there's probably going to be stuff that came out with that expansion or was intended to be used with that expansion in the mythic tier, but we don't know what additional stuff they'd put with it. But we do know that there would definitely be additional stuff because there's just such a bare bones package if you consider what's only in the mythic box. That's true for Spirit Queen's Torment. That's true for Prophecy of Talor, and that's why those boxes have stuff to fill them up, to flesh them out. They have to have more minis, they have to have heroes, they have to have additional equipment cards and hero cards and all this other stuff because there just wasn't enough to justify the release when all that was included with the mythical tier version of that given quest pack was a book and maybe some artifacts, and that's it. So we have no established precedent other than that vague little spattering of assets and content. And the same is true here. They could have done a variety of things, and it would have been okay. And this is not the worst thing that they could have done, for sure. And I think that anybody who's out there who wants to pass it over because of how it's presented, they're fine to do so, especially if you already have the mythic tier. You're not really missing out on anything here. If you would prefer not to have the foil cards or cards that have this style of art plastered all over them, I guess I shouldn't say style of art. It's the same art. It's just that it's presented differently, but there's still a difference, right, visually. If you would prefer not to have the character sheet back, or at the very least, you'd prefer not to have to spend $35 USD on it, that makes sense, and that's fine. And these are considerations that a company like Avalon Hill absolutely would have made before signing off on the final okay on this. Hasbro, whatever. But just to belabor the point of all of that, I say all of that just to say, there really wasn't a precedent. It's going to come with a dragon, the room tile, and those 1x tiles, the stacks in the background. That's what it was going to have, and the quest book. And anything we get extra is just a bonus. Could they have conceived of more stuff? Sure, but this is what they got, and this is the expansion. Now, as to the presentation and those decisions, is that going to carry over into future HeroQuest stuff? I think a lot of people are going to see news of future expansions, like hopefully Wizards of Morkar. I believe so strongly that I'm just going to use terms that indicate that it's surefire, not even a rumor, just definitely going to happen because I'm so optimistic about that happening. We will see Wizards of Morkar or Wizards of Zargon, whatever the name of the expansion is, doesn't matter. We're going to see that. But when people get that announcement or that tease and they don't yet know what's going to be inside the box, they don't have the reveal of the contents, they don't have the interview, the presentation, or anything like that, they're going to say things like, hey, this isn't going to be the same as Joe Manganiello's Crypt of Perpetual Darkness quest pack, right? This isn't going to be foil cards and text wildly splayed all over the cards, right? Because if you keep doing that, I'm not going to buy it. And I do not think we're going to see this style of presentation again, and I 100% believe that it's because it's a Joe Manganiello choice. I think it was Joe's end of the bargain that all of this stuff be presented in this way. And I'm not talking about the sculpt of the dragon here. I'm just talking about the card art. I'm talking about Joe's name plastered over stuff. I'm just talking about this sort of, let's call it self-indulgent presentation. This would be the first time we've seen something like this, and it'll be the last time. And the reason that I believe that is because there are no other quest packs with this kind of name attached to them. Sure, they could get people in the future who have the sort of whim to create content for HeroQuest. They could just as easily say, going on talk shows to promote other things. Yeah, oh, there's this game, by the way, that I didn't really play and have never played, but it's really cool. And I did play it for 10 minutes, and I designed a pack for it because I'm famous in the RPG world because I'm an actor, and I don't have anything to do with RPGs. I'm Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill's Tomb of Eternal Blight will be the next. I made this. Check it out. It's covered in foil and cool fonts because, hello, my fellow kids, you like this, right? I'm throwing a lot of shade here, but I'm really talking about extremes, right? Recall, if you will, that this particular expansion, this particular IP, was only going to be unlocked if the crowdfund reached $4 million on the re-release of HeroQuest in 2021. And we fell short of that. We fell short of that goal by a margin, and it was released anyway with the Mythic tier. I fully believe that everything they were going to include in the box as stretch goals was stuff they were going to send out anyway, and that the stretch goal was really just an illusion spell to get people to continue putting money into it. And I think that sort of strategy is effective, but it is insincere. It does garner some mistrust. I fully believe that this was going to go into production and be put out there regardless. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Joe's name was attached to it. But I do not for one second think that this was completely Hasbro controlled. I have it on good authority that all of this was locked behind a Joe door, and this is a quote that I've used over the last couple of years. And the quote honestly tells me all I need to know about the ownership and authorship of the contents. This was not a case of Hasbro saying, hey, we've got this on the back burner, it's ready to go whenever we have a lull in content or whenever we get to a point where we can just release this stuff. It's going to be easy money. It's 100% ours and we can do whatever we want with it. No, there were existing obligations. There were contracts. There may have even been ends to those obligations, ends to those contracts, and nothing going on because neither party, Hasbro or Hasjoe, doing anything to make moves to get this back into production. And I think a lot of the reason why this is here today or on pre-order today is because of the loudness of the minority of fans who wanted this. Maybe not a minority, actually, but the loudness of people who actually took to social media to talk about how they wanted this. Please release Crypt of Perpetual Darkness. Please make a Crypt of Perpetual Darkness retail. So to kind of fight against this is to kind of besmirch the efforts of all of the people who wanted to see it, because this may have been the only way to get this out there. It's also kind of saying, hey, we asked for this, but we, the fans, your audience, your customers, whom you can't distinguish between because we're all the same to you, said that we wanted this, and now we're saying we don't want this. And we're going to confuse you very much, company. We're sending them mixed signals here, but I do think it's important, and I've been saying this, talking out of both sides of my mouth here, time and time again. It is very important to be very, very honest with your feedback. Civil, practical, like know where your expectations are, but be honest with your feedback about this. Tell them, hey, just a recommendation here. Thanks for this. This is great. Ultimately, I'm glad you did it. Thank you. I support this in many cases, maybe with your wallet, maybe not, maybe just the thought of it. You support them coming out with stuff. But stylization, card art, please don't do that. Do consistent design stuff with what we have. There's a number of folks here who complain about the price. Guys, the price is the same. The price is really not any different than Prophecy of Dolor, Spirit Queen's Torment. And maybe the price is unattractive because of the content. But I mean, that's gonna be subjective. That's by person. $34.99 to one person is not the same as $34.99 to a completely different person. You're gonna have completely different price points, completely different values, principles on what you're gonna spend your money on, and kind of where you draw the line and where you start complaining about the quality or quantity of content for the price that you pay. And for some folks, this is fine. They're just going to buy it. I'm going to buy it, but I'm going to be honest, and I'm being honest in this video about it. I prefer the dragon statue very much. It's great. I don't like Venom. I'm going to be honest about that. I've never liked Venom. I've never really liked the sculpt. It is a cool sculpt. It is a cool dragon. It's a very gargoyle-esque dragon. I don't think it fits the rest of the HeroQuest characters' design very much. It kind of seems like it's shrimpy when you consider that it's supposed to be 32mm, just like the rest of the characters. I know not everybody can pull off a giant, friggin' huge, enormous, colossal dragon like Elden Ring came out with, and I'm not asking for that, but he takes up one tile. He takes up one tile. I've never been a fan of that. And I've always thought, for being like the big bad of a campaign, look to the Frozen Horror for inspiration. Look to the ogres for inspiration on scale and size and imposing figure. But no, the sculpt in a vacuum, the sculpt is awesome. The sculpt is amazing. And something about seeing it in this metallic finish is it looks really cool. It looks a lot cooler than the sculpt that I have. It's the same sculpt. It just looks a lot cooler though. I don't like the cards. I mean, I guess I would if this were a completely different game. I really wouldn't have any sort of complaints about the cards if they all looked the same as every other card in said game. But I just don't like the differences. I don't like that it's differently presented. I honestly don't have a problem with the cards. I kind of think that the foil is cool. It takes me back to the 90s when I would occasionally get foil cards in the X-Men and Spider-Man Fleer and Flare packs. For years, I didn't know that those were two different things. Like I would see one and be like, oh, it's Fleer. I thought it was Flare. And then I would go back and see that it was Flare and I'd be like, I thought it was Fleer. Man, I'm living in a man. No, they both exist. And I was absolutely going crazy as a kid, going between the two. But no, collecting cards, getting foils, getting the translucent ones or the metallic ones or whatever, this takes me back to all of that. But no, I don't think it like belongs here. It's not what draws me to this. What draws me to this is wanting to support Avalon Hill's endeavors in bringing more HeroQuest content out. So voting yes with my dollar here, not because of what's in this necessarily, but because I want to see what else they can do. And the reason that I don't think any of this is going to translate to future stuff, because again, this wasn't just Avalon Hill. This was a collaboration. This was Hasbro. This was Joe. This was a compromise. This was something that neither side probably had total full control over, except to say, no, we're not going to do it. Let's walk away from the deal. Thank you to Max Dunbar and the artists at Adia Digital for creating the art for this quest pack. So Max Dunbar for creating the art. I wonder what percentage is Max and what percentage is Adia Digital. And maybe all of Adia Digital is Max, and also maybe they are just like the colorists and the letterers and stuff. Could be as well. Or maybe he just did, the holy water art and that was it, and everybody else did the art for the other things. Either way, it's pretty consistent. I like it. Either way, no matter what, all three of the Mythic tier stuff is released. It's done. People can rest at night. They can sleep. I know we were all losing sleep over the Joe Dragon being locked behind the Mythic doors forever. And now we don't have to. Now it's a thing. And you don't have to use any of these in your draw decks. They can just be collector's items, and that's fine. But going forward, Wizards of Morcar / Zargon, that is going to be a faithful reproduction of the original with additive changes. It's going to be full of stuff that makes it new, attractive, desirable as a quest pack that's going to cost $44 USD, $45 USD, $49, I don't know, whatever the big box expansions cost. That's what it's going to be. It's going to come with wizard sculpts. It's going to come with the henchmen / men-at-arms. It's going to come with all kinds of cool spell stuff. These are all predictions, but they are firmly rooted in what I believe to be consistent with Avalon Hill's design convention. They're the same standards I've used for predicting everything that they've come out with so far. That's what I think we're going to see, and I think that we're going to see teases of that this year, possibly at Gen Con. But that's not based on any material source that's out there. It's just me using my brain, my critical thinking. A company like Avalon Hill's not going to screw this up royally. They have decades. I mean, it goes back to the 50s, the 60s, and yeah, no, they're not going to have the same people on their team as they did. All of those people have moved on in probably more than one way, but the idea of the company and the management and the philosophies and everything that they've used to stay successful and stay in existence up to this point have definitely maintained throughout the years in some way, shape, or form. For them to have hands on this property and to be consistently still knocking out releases for it. This is not just something that happens. We don't have examples of this stuff that's not crowdfunded. HeroQuest continues to be an anomaly rather than a microcosm of the game industry as it is today. The closest thing you have to this level of consistency and release cadence and success would be Talisman 4th edition. And even then, the 4th edition boxes were like, okay, I open the box and 90% of it is air and the other 10% is really small. And why? Why did they make this into an expansion? We'll talk a little bit about what this could have looked like if another company had it. Chaosium had it and didn't do anything with it. They squandered the time and money that they had, wasted everybody's time with some useless Glorantha-based roleplay books and said, we've got HeroQuest, guys. It's going to be part of our system. We're not going to do anything with it that would indicate that we're interested in where it came from, what it is, how people play it, why they like it. We have HeroQuest, though. It's like if you bought Star Wars and then all you did was make cupcakes with Star Wars theme. It's a terrible analogy, but yet I think it's got to be accurate. I don't think any company would have been able to manage this and handle it and keep it coming the way Avalon Hill has. I just don't. I think the one that comes the closest in my mind would be Fantasy Flight, but even then, I think they would have dwindled away before they got everything out. I think also that they would have handled the expansions very differently. I think we would have gotten like a 3-part Keller's Keep. They would have micro-transactioned the hell out of it. They would have been like Keller's Keep Part 1, the first 4 quests. Either that, or they would have done it real justice by overdoing it. They would have created a huge HeroQuest box, and it just would have had all of the expansions in it day one, like they did with Dungeon Quests. They would have just mashed a bunch of stuff together. But then they would have chose not to mash every part of the classic stuff into the new stuff, and we would be left with missing pieces. But we would have had like 80 orcs in the box, and we would have had rules for like a skirmish mode. I have forgotten about this video and the reason that we're all here. I'm self-indulging in Fantasy Flight fantasies now. How would they have treated HeroQuest? There is one company that I think would have done in managing, owning, and releasing stuff for the HeroQuest brand. Only one. Only one. And you could disagree with me on this if you want. I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts down below. I think Games Workshop would be the only other company that I would trust this property with. And to a degree, right, they had it before, but not really. It wasn't really the same thing. But if they'd had the rights to all of the content, not just the sculpts and the idea of chaos and all that stuff, if they had the content itself and they re-released HeroQuest and it was Games Workshop, we would have seen sculpts that I think everybody would have loved. You know, you've got your crowd of people who are like, I don't like the new 2021 sculpts. They look like, World of Warcraft or what. I don't know. There's people that have strange, if sometimes valid, comparisons about the style of the sculpts and why they're hung up on why they're bad or whatever. But they wouldn't have had that. They would have been Games Workshop compliant. And it would have been oddly similar to the classic because Games Workshop hasn't really changed with their style. They've refined it, but it's all recognizable. Like, a Games Workshop orc, a Games Workshop goblin. And we would have had finely detailed sculpts with the box. Would the box have been cheap? No, it would have been like $400. It would have been like a $400 game. You'd have no accessibility except for the people who wanted to play it badly enough. And I think that there are some people who would have gotten it that aren't getting HeroQuest now. And I think that there are a lot of people who would not have gotten it that are getting HeroQuest now. So, but no, kind of reuniting HeroQuest with Games Workshop and leaving the management to them. I think they would have done some really interesting things with it. Better, maybe, I don't know. They could have kept it alive because they've got backing without the crowd funds. And it would have been consistent. Limited in some cases, like they probably would have come up and said, hey, we're doing a made-to-order Venom Dragon expansion. And if you don't get it now, you're just not going to get it because that's the way that we operate. But I mean, at least it would have been upfront and honest. All right, so I've been rambling far too long. Thoughts down below. Go enjoy your ability to pre-order. I see it's sold out in a couple places, but like not on Amazon in the US. So I think the availability of this one's being handled quite differently than previous expansions. And I'm thinking that they're sticking with a formula that works to make sure it actually gets into the hands of as many people as possible versus into the hands of scalpers as much as possible. So thank you, Avalon Hill, for that. Finally, it's been figured out. Thank you for that. Thank you guys for listening, for watching, for supporting, and I'll see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, have a great rest of your day, and bye for now.